This might be one of the most compelling stories you'll ever hear. Today I'm going to tell you a romance that emerged right in the middle of a tragedy. Michael Carter, a 35-year-old successful executive, owned a fortune that many envied. He organized lavish parties and hosted events at the city's most exclusive clubs, places reserved for the upper crust. With his imposing presence, athletic build, and striking features, Michael earned admiration from everyone, from his employees to his fellow executives. Although he was the dream of many women, his heart already belonged to Jessica Miller, a stunning model and savvy businesswoman. The couple graced magazine covers and lived a life filled with glamour and romance. But everything changed when an autoimmune disease began to affect Michael's life. To make matters worse, a serious accident aggravated his condition, and he was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, a disease that progressively paralyzes the muscles and threatened to one day take his life. The confident, vigorous man Michael once was gradually faded away into a mere shadow of himself. As his strength and beauty waned day by day, Jessica vowed to stand by his side. True to her word, she took charge of the household and pressed him to get married as soon as possible, insisting that her love was so deep she didn't want to be just a visitor in his life, but his constant companion. However, the heavy burden of daily routines and commitments led Jessica to consider hiring someone to help take care of Michael. Michael's mother agreed, saying that a professional nurse was essential since he had become withdrawn and depressed, so much so that he'd even stopped enjoying the sunshine. That's when Emily Davis stepped in. A young nurse with plenty of experience caring for terminal patients, Emily was assigned to look after Michael. When she arrived at his grand mansion, she was struck by the elegance of the place and the refined taste of its furnishings. But her introduction was met with a chilly reception from Michael's mother, who snapped, "You're the caregiver? I think they sent the wrong person. You're here to take care of my son." With calm confidence, Emily replied, "Ma'am, I've cared for many terminal patients before. I might be young, but I'm strong and dedicated. Just allow me the chance to meet him." Michael's mother, adjusting her purse on her shoulder, pointed toward the bedroom and said, "Talk to his girlfriend. I have some things to handle. Wait here. She'll be down in a minute." Emily found the woman's cold demeanor odd, as if she barely cared about her own sick son. A few minutes later, Jessica appeared, wearing an elegant fur coat, and scrutinized Emily from head to toe. "You're the nurse?" she asked. "Yes, that's me," Emily replied. Without hiding her disinterest, Jessica said, "Come on, I'll show you where he is." Together, they entered a dark, silent room. Suddenly, Jessica's phone buzzed with what seemed like an urgent call. "Just a minute. I'll be right back," she said, leaving the room quiet until Emily heard a weak, gruff voice. "Mom, is that you?" Carefully, Emily stepped closer. "Excuse me, I'm your new caregiver," she announced. Michael sighed without even looking up and muttered, "You can leave. I don't want a woman taking care of me if she can't handle it." Emily then let the light flood into the room and, meeting Michael's gaze firmly, said, "I'm a professional. I'm here to work, and I won't leave unless your mother or your girlfriend tells me to." Michael tried to adjust himself on the bed, but winced in pain, prompting Emily to quickly reposition his pillows to ease his discomfort. At that moment, Jessica rushed back, exclaiming, "Honey, I have to go. She'll take care of you." Without offering further explanation, Jessica left the room, leaving Emily alone with Michael. Determined to restore not only Michael's health, but also his spirit, Emily placed her bag aside and began her work. Every day, she arrived at the mansion early, ready to carry out her mission with unwavering dedication and professionalism. She bathed Michael, changed his diapers, and fed him carefully, providing juices, water, and all the necessary medications. Her patience and kindness shone through, even in the face of Michael's irritability and cold demeanor. One afternoon, while preparing his porridge, Michael, gazing off into the distance, confided, "When you have health and money, everyone sticks around. But when you lose it all, only your true friends remain. Now, I only have two, Rob and Eddie. Everyone else just disappeared." He paused, took a deep breath, and added, but there's someone I admire so much. I want to surprise my girlfriend with a marriage proposal. Emily, holding the spoon, looked at him tenderly and remarked, "It's the people who stay with you in tough times who are the real friends." Later that night, while Emily was taking an empty plate to the kitchen, she overheard muffled voices from the adjacent room. Curious, she approached the slightly open door and distinctly heard Jessica say, "He's going to die anyway. There's nothing to fear. I'll marry him. I give everything, and then we'll be together." A man, with a sarcastic tone, retorted, "How can you be with someone like him?" Jessica laughed and replied, "That's why I have fun with you, Brad." Emily's heart pounded, and a chill ran down her spine. In a clumsy moment, she dropped the plate, and the noise forced Jessica and Brad to break their kiss. "What was that?" Brad demanded. "Let me see," he insisted. Jessica opened the kitchen door, scanned the room, but found no one. Noticing the broken plate on the floor, she grew tense, gathered the shards, and muttered, "Who's been here?" Unsure if it was another servant or the caregiver, Jessica hurried back to Michael's room, quickly saying goodbye and leaving, visibly upset. That night, Emily barely slept, troubled by the thought, "He's being deceived, but how can I tell him? He'll never believe me." The next morning, still suspicious, Jessica asked Michael if Emily had served him dinner. "Yes, she did," Michael replied, adding that he had told her a housemaid would pick up the plate, but since she was late, Emily ended up doing it herself. Jessica watched Emily with a penetrating, distrustful gaze, yet Emily maintained her routine with the same commitment. A few days later, Jessica began planting seeds of doubt in Michael's mind, insinuating that Emily had stolen a very expensive watch from him. Tensions in the house escalated until, in the heat of an argument, Emily couldn't hold back any longer and shouted, "You're cheating on me with Brad, Mr. Carter." A heavy silence fell. Trying to keep her cool, Jessica countered, "That woman is lying." With a piercing look, Michael ordered everyone to be quiet and stare at Jessica, saying, "Where would Emily get such a story when she's never even met Brad?" Jessica began stammering, searching for an excuse, and Michael continued, "You expect me to believe that? I already have my doubts about Brad. Gather your things and leave my house now. Don't bring up that watch story." One of the maids stepped forward and said, "Sir, last night I saw Mrs. Miller near your watches." Jessica burst into tears and left in despair. Standing in the room, wearing her nurse's uniform, Emily wept uncontrollably, covering her face with her hands. "I'm sorry. I never meant to cause trouble. Please forgive me. You know I'd never steal anything from you or anyone." Michael, his gaze softening, called her over. Emily hesitantly approached as Michael, whose one arm no longer moved as well as before while the other still moved slowly, carefully held her wrist and helped her sit at the edge of the bed. He grabbed a tissue from a nearby box and gently wiped away her tears. "Don't be upset. If it weren't for you, I'd be living a lie with that gold digger. Just do your job and know that I'm not angry with you." Emily soon became more than just a caregiver. She turned into a confidant and friend for Michael. When he lamented, "I have no friends," she would tease, "Cut the nonsense. If you don't want to be my friend, then it must be because I'm not rich enough." Michael laughed and replied, "That's beside the point. I consider everyone a friend. People might think I'm arrogant, but I've always supported social causes and never judged anyone." After finishing her daily duties, Emily, now comfortable in the environment, would take a shower and change before heading out to socialize. Michael had never seen her look so radiant, dressed in a blue dress, her hair flowing freely, and wearing stylish heels. While fastening her earrings, she said, "Mr. Carter, I know you sleep early. I've already set the air conditioner, and the maid is downstairs if you need anything." Michael teased, "Where are you off to, beautiful? Going to meet a boyfriend?" Emily laughed and replied, "Boyfriend? These days, men barely come close. They just give you a look, and that's it." Michael rubbed his head as Emily adjusted her outfit and asked, "Are you feeling any pain?" He tried to brush it off, but the pain worsened, causing concern. "Let's go to the hospital," Emily suggested, but Michael calmly replied, "Just give me a moment, and then you can head off to your event." Emily, breaking her schedule, stayed in the room, watching for any signs of improvement while gazing at the moonlight streaming through the window. Michael murmured, "Soon I'll need breathing support. This cursed disease is slowly killing me." When Emily asked why he had to accept such a fate, he replied, "Why did I have to end up like this?" Emily urged, "Don't talk like that. Maybe it's a part of what you need to go through. Don't you believe you can be cured?" For the first time, a tear rolled down Michael's cheek as he asked, "How can I be cured of a disease that's deemed incurable? I already know what my destiny is." Gently, Emily wiped away his tear and said, "No matter what happens, I'll keep giving you strength." Michael grasped her hand, pulling her face closer to his, and whispered, "I think I'm falling in love with you." Startled, Emily was caught up in his soulful gaze. "It's just the closeness we share," Michael murmured. "Perhaps it's the only silver lining of all this." "Don't say that," Emily replied softly, placing her hand on his lips to quiet him. Michael kissed her hand, holding her gaze, and after a long, tender look, they shared a kiss that night under the soft strains of music. Emily then asked him gently, "Don't push yourself too hard, please," as she helped reposition Michael on the bed. "I love you. I still have some strength left," he assured her. In a timid tone, Emily asked, "Why did you do that?" With tenderness, he answered, "Because I want to do it again." And so, they kissed once more. When Emily later told her mother about that kiss, Michael's reaction was immediate and full of disbelief. "Are you crazy for being with a man who's about to die? He might be wealthy, but you know his time is short. Soon his condition will worsen, and you'll suffer," her mother exclaimed, arms crossed. Emily's heart ached as she took a deep breath and responded, "Mom, no one truly understands him. If I have to be with him, I'll stay until the very end. I really care about him." Her mother sighed, worried. "I say that for your own good, dear. There are plenty of men out there. This one is only going to give you trouble, and later, you'll end up heartbroken." Determined, Emily looked up and asked, "So you don't support our love?" Her mother averted her eyes and said, "Go home and think it over. I'm not going to accept that ridiculous idea," Emily declared every morning as she entered Michael's room with a bright smile, turned on the radio, and danced just to see him laugh. Despite his limited movements, Michael couldn't help but smile, charmed by the woman who brightened his days. One special afternoon, while watching her dance, he sighed, "If I could move better, I'd take you out for a candlelit dinner, dance slowly, hold you tight, and kiss you from head to toe." Emily, moved by his words, laid gently against his chest and said, "We could be happy just the way we are. I don't need a fancy dinner or a formal dance to love you." She traced the contours of his face with her fingers and kissed him tenderly, feeling his breath against her lips. Michael closed his eyes and whispered, "No one has ever done for me what you do." But not everything was perfect. Days later, Michael's mother appeared at his home holding a document. "Michael, it's just a formality. We need you to sign this, transferring your inheritance to me and your father for the future." His eyes filled with indignation as he shouted, "I'm not signing anything. Everyone, leave me alone now." The day turned heavy and silent, and then something unexpected happened. Michael's disease, once thought incurable, began to reverse. The doctors were stunned as new improvements emerged each month. He started standing up again, walking, and even brushing his teeth on his own. It was nothing short of a miracle. Once he could walk steadily, Michael organized a grand event and invited all the relatives and friends who had once abandoned him. They came, expecting him to forgive and welcome them back into his life. To everyone's surprise, Michael entered the hall hand in hand with a beautifully dressed woman, Emily. Walking up to the microphone, he scanned a room and declared in a firm voice, "Sometimes we have to go through hardships to find the right person. I battled this disease, and now I'm here renewed. I know it feels like a miracle, but more than that, it was someone who believed in me when no one else did." Turning to Emily with eyes full of love, he added, "This woman did for me what no one else ever could, and today, in front of all of you, I want to honor her." Ignoring the shocked and envious stares, Michael knelt down, pulled a small box from his pocket, and said, "Emily, will you marry me?" For a moment, Emily hesitated with tears in her eyes as she noticed disapproving looks all around. But when she met Michael's sincere gaze, the truth shone through. The room erupted in applause, some genuine, others merely polite, but none of that mattered. The wedding turned into a grand celebration. Jessica, furious and helpless, watched from afar at the door with burning anger in her chest, unable to believe she had lost her chance to be the millionaire's wife to a simple nurse. In the end, the love between Michael and Emily triumphed over every obstacle, proving that miracles really do happen. And years later, their family grew, a testament to a love that transformed everything.